So here's why dopamine is such a tricksy, devilish little imp. Dopamine is all about craving. And once you get what you want, once you have that thing that you were seeking in hand, dopamine spikes up really high, but then it drops back down. And even worse, the worst part is dopamine doesn't just drop back down to baseline. It actually dips slightly below our previous baseline. And the extent to which it drops below baseline is proportional to how much above baseline it went. So the higher the high, the deeper the crash. And you gotta remember, how you feel in a given moment is all about relative dopamine levels. So after you get that big thing you wanted, you ran that marathon, your first child is born. Immediately following, you can get that lovely postpartum depression. This baby isn't as cool as I thought it was going to be. Olympic athletes, they get depressed after competing on the highest level because your dopamine levels are relatively low compared to where they were when you were seeking that massive prize at the end of the rainbow. Even if you have like normal dopamine levels, that's nothing compared to the dopamine highs you had when you were competing in front of the world at the Olympics, So then what? Do you climb a taller cliff? Do you free solo a more dangerous mountain? To get pregnant with twins or triplets? All these things we have total control over. Because if you only climb that same mountain a second time, guess what? Dopamine doesn't peak as high as it did the first time. You run that marathon at the same speed, your dopamine release is lower. You eat that 10th piece of pizza, doesn't taste as good as the first slice, doesn't feel as good, You're never gonna love that second child as much as the first, or the third as much as the second. No, that's terrible. I'm sorry. I shouldn't say things like that. But for every bit of pleasure you gain, there is an opposing pain and craving for more that you will never be able to satisfy by seeking out that same reward,